6:47 now. There is a new exhibit at the Walters Art Museum.
It focuses on compelling images of animals that appear in the pages of manuscripts in the Walters collections.
Today on Coffee With, how the curators work to make books come to life.
Nicole and Lindley are co-curators of a new exhibit at the Walters Art Museum called Animal Tales, and you're here to tell us about it.
Yes.
Hi,
hello.
Good to see you.
Thank you for having us.
I love the description says, now we talk with emojis, but we've always used images to communicate.
Yep, exactly. So the show really came about because there were a number of books where we noticed that images from some of Aesop's fables that we still know and love today were appearing in the margins of these religious books, and it really made us start to wonder, why is this happening and how were readers interacting with these books? And we pretty much realized that the visual literacy that was happening in the 13th and 14th century is not so different from the way that we look at images today. So it's a way of really connecting modern viewers and ancient readers through these images of animals.
You had to search through this collection of more than 1,000 books and manuscripts.
Yes.
This is a lot of work.
Yes, it took many months, really about a year, to kind of comb through everything. The types of images that we're using in this exhibition are actually fairly unusual in terms of it being an illumination in a margin, for instance, that doesn't actually relate to the text as an illustration. So trying to go through and finding things that are meaningful that way was actually very difficult, and
a lot of work,
but worth it.
Is there a specific image that maybe you found the most surprising or interesting? Something someone should look out for if they go to the museum?
I think the hedgehog, for me.
Tell us the story.
Do you want to tell this story?
So we have this wonderful antiphonary, which is just a fancy way of saying a choir book. And it's this 13th century choir book that was used by a cloister of nuns in France. And the book actually passed into the collection of English art critic John Ruskin in the 19th century. And the irony is that he went through the manuscript and started erasing anything that he didn't find religious enough or pious enough.
Okay.
But in one of the pages, he left this image of a hedgehog that's covered in grapes. And it actually goes back to a story from the Roman period, so from the 1st century CE, that talks about hedgehogs going into vineyards, hitting the trees, rolling around in the grapes, and then bringing the grapes home as food for their young. But in this later context, it took on a resonance as sort of the devil stealing the spiritual fruits of mankind. So this tiny, tiny image of a hedgehog actually has all these layered meanings, and John Ruskin wasn't able to read it the way that we are now with the research we're doing for the exhibition. So he actually left this image that's symbolic of something quite nefarious on the page.
But he didn't know.
He had no idea.
Yeah. But the nuns would have when they were singing from this choir book. So we can sort of imagine that this must have had, a great resonance for them, but he had lost that information, and so he left it thinking it was a sort of innocuous hedgehog.
Wow. So this is on display until August
11th.
And of course, the Walters, if you don't know, free admission.
Free every day. Yep.
So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to go see it.
Thank you.
It's really interesting. All right, thanks for being with us.
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this with more news, traffic, and weather.